A while back, we reported that S&P Global Mobility predicted that, in February, a total of 8% of the new vehicles sold in the US would be electric. It's the first time that EVs have been expected to reach an 8% market share in the US. And yes, I know Norway passed 80% of new vehicle sales being electric, so we're just a tad behind. Never mind. And it's an increase in numbers in part driven by changes to the US federal tax credit. That means that people can actually apply the credit at the point of sale, opening up new vehicle purchases to a new group of consumers. It's a sign of the improved availability of EVs, and in some areas at least, an expansion of mid-price EVs, even if the US really still lacks the vast majority of affordable electric vehicles available elsewhere. And it's people slowly realizing that, sure, EVs can be all about trying to reduce carbon emissions and can be about having less of an impact on the environment, but they're also, well, just better than gas cars. As daily drivers, they're cheaper, have lower maintenance costs, and, well, they're quieter, smoother, and generally better for you as well as the planet. And while that is a good thing, there's one fly in the ointment here. We need fewer cars, not more. Okay. Yes, we mainly cover cars. We do also cover planes, trains, as well as automobiles. And obviously e-bikes, buses, trams, eVTOL aircraft, and last mile solutions. But being in the US, cars definitely make up the bulk of our output because, well, the US lags behind even more on public transit infrastructure than it does on electrification. The why of that could be a whole video on its own, but since this past year we've already hit the first year with a consistent monthly average of 1.5 degrees C above pre-industrial levels, we've seen the sea surface temperature chart literally go off the chart, and we've seen reports that the Atlantic system is perilously close to a tipping point that may make such trifling things as growing food in much of the Northern Hemisphere staggeringly difficult. We thought it was about time to talk about the elephant in the room. And that is why we don't want to replace every single gas car that exists with an EV. And that's not to say we want to keep gas cars on the road. Although there is an argument that a car that produces the average 400-ish grams of carbon dioxide per mile is well maintained and is going to do less than the around 30 to 60,000 miles or around 100,000 kilometers, and then it will be scrapped and not replaced, well, that's about equal to the carbon cost of building a medium-sized EV. So if you're driving what will be your last car, and it doesn't have to go that many more miles, then yeah, maybe don't replace it with an EV. But of course, most cars aren't used like that. They're sold on and the owner buys a new car, or a new-to-them car, and somewhere back down that chain there's a new EV being produced, which has a break-even point of around 30,000 miles or 50-ish thousand kilometers, and while we would love to see more kits developed to allow folks to drop out an aging 4-cylinder, or I suppose an 8-cylinder engine and replace it with a similarly powerful electric motor, that's not yet really taken off anywhere but boutique conversion shops who can charge celebrity owners 6 figures to convert their favourite gas guzzler into an electron sipper. So having an EV is better than having a gas car in most circumstances, but in the end, it's not as good as not building any car in the first place. And there's a couple of things at play here. As a general rule, climate scientists are keen to get more people living in cities. And not just living in cities, living in higher density cities. And that's because suburbia, particularly the sprawling suburbia found in North America, is horrifically inefficient. A recent-ish study suggests that suburban dwellers consumed up to 320% more embodied energy, 150% more operational energy, and 160% more life cycle energy than densely developed communities. And while, sure, a renewable energy future is one in which energy is abundant, and we'll have to get used to instead resources being the limiting factor, that point is some distance off. Because while some billionaires would like us to think we'll be out mining asteroids and populating Mars with serfs, we're likely to be stuck on this rock for a while yet, and it has finite resources. If you're in a rural area, you end up driving even more. You require longer stretches of road to be built and maintained between you and your destinations. And detached houses are markedly less efficient than other forms of buildings, so your energy efficiency goes down even more. Although, wherever you live, exactly how much energy you consume is also down to how you live your life and where you get your food and supplies from and how much of a consumer lifestyle you opt to lead. But you're starting with a disadvantage if you're far out in the sticks. There is a problem with that density plan, which is that if climate tipping points occur too fast and we end up with temperatures higher than around 36 degrees centigrade, that's around 97 Fahrenheit or 26 degrees Roma, being common occurrences, then things will start to get a bit tricky. Because temperatures in cities become hard to manage at that point. And then using density as a way to reduce consumption and manage resources more efficiently becomes, well, quite a lot harder. If you've ever lived in or visited Arizona, you'll know what I mean. If you visit the Sonoran Desert outside of Phoenix on a hot summer day and stay there beyond dusk, you'll feel the temperature drop precipitously. It can get chilly enough for you to want even a light coat. But hang out in the middle of town after dark and the temperature can stay well into the triple digits Fahrenheit all night long because of all that concrete absorbing heat, because of all those road surfaces built for cars capturing the heat of the day, and because of the heat from all those air conditioners running at full speed all the time. Anyhow, if you're looking to build an ultra-dense city, the last thing you want to do is try and make it car accessible. Why? Well, for one, because cars are atrociously inefficient as a means of moving people around. The mantra, just one more lane, has been conclusively disproven, and thanks to things like induced demand and Brace's paradox, hat tip there to Not Just Bikes for their excellent recent video on why one more lane just doesn't work, link down in the doobly-doo, which is incidentally something we've known about since the 1920s. There's evidence that adding more lanes can actually make traffic worse, and doing the reverse, closing off existing lanes or repurposing them as segregated safe spaces for cyclists and pedestrians, actually improve traffic. But as it stands, cars take up a vast amount of space in city centres. Last year, the Parking Reform Network published maps of land usage in American cities, and to take some examples, nearly 50% of San Bernardino city core is parking. In Salt Lake City, Wichita, and Las Vegas, about a third is parking. There's an excellent Climate Town video on YouTube already that explains why so much of our cities are pointlessly taken up with parking, and it's all to do with outdated planning laws. Link down below. Seriously, SimCity couldn't make its cities representative of real US cities because the game was just boring if all you were ever building was parking lots to allow for actual parking requirements. But also, if you're looking to build a resilient city that is adaptable to the changing, much less stable climate that we've created, then you don't want kilometers and miles of impervious road surface and parking lots, because as we've seen over the past few years, atmospheric rivers have led to flash floods all across the world. We need land that can adapt. And if we're going to adapt, and I'd really like humans to adapt to climate change so that we can all survive equitably, then building cities that can cope with the kind of weather that we've brought about is going to be a big part of that challenge. And so making cities car-friendly is going to be a very small part of making urban, modern developments that are actually resilient. Oh, and just one other thing. People in cities, it turns out, do not like looking at cars or automobile infrastructure. A research group at Tufts University used eye movement tracking and facial expression analysis to examine people's reactions to various city scenes. And to quote the research group, "While the range of factors governing our reaction to space is as vast as the range of human emotion itself, our most recent project uncovered a statistically significant increase in positive emotions when people viewed urban streets without cars versus ones with cars on them. People appear to be happier when cars aren't in the picture, literally." And this is before we get to the sheer number of resources required to build EVs to replace every single vehicle, as well as meet our demand for current new cars. And look, we've pointed out before that, yes, especially with the development and increasing availability of alternative battery chemistries that use more common and more easily obtainable materials, that yes, we do have the resources to build all the EVs that we could need. But the question is, should we? Should we replace every gas car with an EV and more besides? And if we want to end up in the utopian future and not the dystopian one, I'd argue that we shouldn't. Thanks for joining me today. And if you've got thoughts, make sure you leave them below in our Discord chat room, or you can reach out to us on Mastodon. Thanks to the amazing list of people scrolling by on your screen right now. They are some of the more than 1,500 people who help fund this channel through Patreon and YouTube, covering our bills, paying our team, and making sure that we can be 100% independent. If you'd like to join them and see your name listed here, just follow the links below. There's a range of different tiers you can sign up for, from as little as $1 a month, or if you pay yearly, just under $11 a year. A huge welcome to our newest supporters: Kempf22, Tom Stovall, Sean Harper, Jeffrey Anderson, Wiley Yee, James Fernley, Rebecca Fussell, SRS 5694, Jack Ruppel, BMW K1, Larry Ronning, Sean K, MD, Did Great, Mike Keenker, Mario Murillo, Dave Nelson, Abraham Palmer, Ed Baylor, and Peter Nelson. If you'd like to support us with a one-off donation, you'll find links below to make Ko-fi and Bitcoin donations, and we even have an old-fashioned PO box you can reach us at. Address is also down below. And if you're in need of some swag, you'll find our swag store in the down below too. This month, we're celebrating Electric for Everyone with an amazing new t-shirt designed by our in-house artist and animator Erin. Get yours today by heading to our Redbubble store. We've got some great content coming up, so make sure you've subscribed on PeerTube or YouTube, and we'll see you soon. We make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you want more, the mighty algorithm thinks you'll like this video, but we think this one is also well worth a look. See you soon, and as always, keep evolving!